So here we are today, and I'm having problems with my rear window in my 1987 Toyota 4Runner. So here we are at the tailgate, and I began taking out a few screws. The screws on the carpeted section of the tailgate. Take them all out. The problem I had with my truck was that I couldn't get the window to come down. And it used to be that I would always do all the little tricks, like make sure this is in the up position and pushing in really hard on this side and while I'm turning the key to get it down. But finally everything stopped working and the door and window was stuck up. So what I did was I came into the car and came around to the door, and then I took off the panel, and then I took off this next panel. It's just a few basic screws to take those two panels off, and then I was inside and I had the whole inside guts of the tailgate exposed. And then over here on the driver's side I had to find the power to the motor, which this is the motor. And so you can see that there's a wire going under here, and right here underneath this big black nub, which is where the connector clips into the frame, is where your wire is. And you reach down in there and you, with one fingernail, you push it down like you're peeling a banana and then pull it out, and then you've disconnected it. And there's the end that goes into the car, and then the other part comes out here. So that's how you disconnect the motor. And then you have to take this little nub and work it through the hole and pull around the power wire, which is here. And then you can look inside the end of the power wire and you see two posts. So one's positive and one's negative. And you connect a battery with wires such as this. I just have a regular small 12-volt battery. And you just play with it. You stick them one way and then stick them the other until the window comes down. That's direct power to the window, and the window rolls down. That is how you get to the point where you can pull up the switch and lower the tailgate and begin solving your problem. Now that the window's down, I know that I can put the wire back together for the motor and switch my attention over here to this, which is the switch, the tailgate closure switch, which is actually the lock detection switch. So it senses that the door is closed and then allows your windshield wiper to work and your window to roll up and the defogger to work. So none of those things work unless that switch is working or bypassed. So what you do is, now that you got it down, you pop this thing down out, disconnect it, which I've already got it ready, and and it's actually the blue-red and the green-red wire there that you see that I have put a connector, this blue connector, to connect those. And connecting the blue and the green bypasses this switch, but you still want to plug it in and then stick it up in the frame so that all the wires are free. Now you should be able to roll your window up and down with the key and with the switch in the front. But if you don't do the switch in the front, it's because you didn't put the clip back in. You just bypass it, but you have to have the clip in if you want windows to work at both switches. So then, my other problem was that the window wouldn't go all the way up. It would stop right about here and start clicking, click, 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 click. And it was because it had broken teeth in these gears. And it was actually up here. In this case, there's some teeth right up in there in the tip of my middle finger, you can see. And so they were broken off, and they're way up there. And the solution was for me to take out these 4 bolts. But you don't take those 4 bolts out until you have the window rolled into the halfway position. So let me show you that real quick first. So I'm going to put the key in, and now I'm turning the key to open it up until I can see this part, the slider track. There's a little wheel in there that goes in that track, and so you can see that this wheel could slide right out the open end right here. That's how you get the wheels to disconnect. And you're going to take out this whole mechanism by these 4 bolts. So you undo these 4 bolts, and then you shift the whole mechanism down into that cavity as far as you can, and then you try to get this motor over this little lip first. And all these wires have to be disconnected, which is only 1, 2, the switch underneath, and then you'll want to disconnect this cable by pulling up even pressure on both sides of this, so it comes out of that little clamp, and then you can pull it around and out through that little groove. Disconnect both of these cables to both sides. Then these right here, they pop open like this, and the part pulls up just like that. You know, so that's how you disconnect those. And that's it. So you disconnect these 2, boom, boom, these 4 bolts, slide the whole contraption that way. The window has to be halfway rolled up, which you've already fixed that problem by fixing this lock detection switch. So now you finagle the whole thing out there, and when you see it, there'll be 2 gears that are broken. Those 2 little teeth right in the end, are broken. And so you simply take it to a welder and tell them to fix it. Now you know somebody, one of your friends out there somewhere knows somebody with a welder. Anybody with a little welder will probably be able to fix it, especially a wire feed MIG welder. That's what I did, because I got a little shop back there, but that's different. It was really easy. You just put it on a low setting, and you weld some blobs on it, and then you carve them out with the grinder. And then grease it up and put it all back together. It was really easy to weld those 2 little teeth, just weld some blobs coming out on a low heat setting, and then grinded them into the shape of these teeth, which is just a little triangle. Very, very simple. And then I put it back in. And you know, how much would they charge? I mean, if I was, you know, a really busy welder with no time to waste, I would probably at least charge you 50 to 80 to 100 just to fix those teeth. But you probably know somebody like me who will just like totally do it for 20 bucks. Because it took me like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It took me like 10 minutes to make those 2 teeth. It was no big deal. So now you put everything back together, and everything's gonna work. Your window's gonna work. Your defogger's gonna work. You know, your defogger, it hasn't worked in a long time. And because it's on the same thing. You know, if that switch isn't working, nothing's really going to work great. So that's a good place to start. And then fix your teeth. It can be done. Just take the thing out, take it to a welder, and tell them to weld 2 teeth on there. Tell them to do it for 25 bucks. Anyway, that's my addition to this whole thing. This window is fixed. You want to see it working? Let me put it back together. Now while I have it out, I wanted to point out this other problem that I had, was that there was always this popping, like when the window would go up and down. And if you see right in the center of the screen is that blue and white connector. That's the connector that is attached to the key switch. And it was actually, it's just, you know, dangling there. And it was getting in the way of the mechanism, and the window itself would actually catch it and then it would roll it and pinch it and then pop it out the other side every time it went up and down. And so what I had to do was figure out why it was popped out, and I saw this piece of metal right here. This flat piece of metal was sort of separated and flapping up, so I took a piece of wire and I made a little clamp that clamps those two pieces of metal together, and that allowed for that switch connector to go down about 1/4 of an inch and clear the clearance of the window. I don't know why it does that, but you can see that it left a streak right here, and that's what that streak is on my window. I don't know if you can see that. There's a streak right there. That's rub marks from that plastic connector, and that's how I fixed it, with a piece of wire clamping it together. I just bent it over 180 degrees and hammered it, and then I stuck it on like a paper clip. Hey, maybe you could use a paper clip, a big heavy duty one. Anyway, let me put this thing back together so I could show you my new window. Now sometimes when you have the broken tooth on the regulator problem where the window clicks on its way up, you get into a situation where you cut on the windshield wiper but the window wasn't all the way up, and then neither one of them work. So what you have to do to reset everything is to go up inside and then undo the parts for this box, which it's just a couple cheesy pieces like this. Sorry Toyota, they're kind of cheesy, but they're simple to work with. That's the cover, and then here is the switch. This switch right here. And you simply disconnect this switch and then go back outside and roll your window up. And when your window goes up, it goes all the way and then all of a sudden when you connect this clip back in, your window starts working, your wiper starts working as well. Sorry, I'm not a very good talker. But anyway, that is the fix for the window and how to get your window rolled down, you know, if you have the wiper stuck down, which is another problem you run into. So anyway, with all that crap, now I can sit there and shut this tailgate and put my key in it, turn it up, and it rolls up. Now look at this at the end. No snap, crackle, pop, you know, look at that. No pop right there. Right about here was where the streak popped in, where the see, here goes the nice smooth window, and that's the mark of that plastic clip left on my window, which is probably not ever going to come off, but it's an old truck, you know, what do you care? Now you got a window again, and without this window, without that beloved window, what are you gonna do?